you could say that fear revolves around things that are uncertain or the unknown. So a lot of people have been, at the very least, very concerned, and at the very most, worried, and that has manifested in many different ways, as we're seeing today. I'm sure you recognize that in your practice as well as I do. And CEOs and organizations are starting to recognize now that well-being has to be something that they factor in.
And what do you think are some of the well-being strategies that people are adopting now within organizations? Have you seen or heard much about what you're hearing? Because so much has already been out there, but now we're seeing this real need to address. And I think it is, like you say, forcing CEO and companies' hands to actually start making these changes, and not just talk about it, but actually start acting on it. And I think that's the biggest problem, even with our work together. We've seen that there's been a lot of talk about how we need to improve our well-being, how we need to become more resilient, how we need to really focus on, investing in ourselves. But you go into any culture and you see that you see the antithesis of that in the culture of an organization. So I'm just wondering if there's anything that you've seen that is becoming, the forefront of how people are approaching well-being in companies.
The chance to be out in nature is something that people have been spending less time out in nature, and doing things that they love. Being creative is a very important thing. I know a lot of doctor friends and doctors I work with and interact have been given prescriptions to not watch the news. So these are some of the things that I found challenging from my general practice and the companies I work with, and the feedback I've been receiving. And the CEOs have been finding that there's some part of their workforce that have had a very good time during this because they have a better living situation. Maybe they have more room in their house, or they have sort of just their kids are a little bit older, have grown up. They've got an office. They've had the ability to sort of work with this pandemic and being able to find ways to make it work for them and for their life more accurately. And then other people have had a more difficulty if they've got young kids, or they don't have as big a space at home. They've got a lot of other challenges that have made it increasingly difficult, particularly people that live in big cities, condensed cities, where in a big city like New York or like London, you live a lot of your life outside in the cafes, in the restaurants, in the bars, in the parks, and living your life in a sort of a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom sort of apartment. That's very difficult for a lot of people.